of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, there's in the opening items, there's one item on there for an addition to the agenda or change to the agenda.
I would make a motion to separate principal contract renewals into individual agenda items.
Okay, there's a motion for, and that individual item is 8 Charlie. We'll look on that agenda item, and the motion is to separate those individuals out to just individual items. You have a thing called up for a vote, I guess, or is there a motion for a second to break those out? I'll go ahead and second it. And do you have something for voting on the computer for this? It's okay, so come up, everyone can vote on the computer for this change to the agenda item. The motion does not pass 1 to 5, so the agenda item will stay as it is. Move on to consent agenda. Comments, discussions on consent agenda. I see there's a generous donation to the Burlington Early Learning Center. That's pretty awesome. Thank you for the Patterson Family Foundation for that.
Who is that, or what's that?
It's just a grant that promotes, again, a number of different things in education. It's one of those that came across an email. We received one last year from them to help out with, like, for example, items related to COVID, whether it be masks or cleaning supplies and so on and so forth. This year, we addressed it towards the early learning center, so yes.
Awesome. All right, thanks.
I'll send them a thank you as well.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
You can all vote on our computers. Motion passes 5 to 1. Move on to public comment section. Do we have anybody sign up for public comments this evening?
Alyssa Fruit.
I'm sorry?
Alyssa Fruit.
Okay. You have 5 minutes to discuss.
Perfect. I have a small packet for each of you. I could get them undone. So I am reaching out to you guys as a parent of somebody, a child who is enrolled in the Early Learning Center. I'm here not just representing myself and my young infant daughter, but also numerous parents that have reached out to me, as well as staff members that are currently still there and staff members that were there between the opening and now. I wanted to bring some matters to your attention regarding the safety of our children who have attended or are currently attending. Although I've spoken to the director as well as Mr. Marshall here, I've seen things kind of degrade. I wrote to Mr. Marshall on October 8th about 24 safety concerns. 21 of them were safety. 3 of them were admin, building the app, things like that. He did write back and said that he would review those with Haley. However, 11 days later, I received a response and it just didn't really address all of them. Said that some of them were going to be addressed. She talked to some of the staff members, but nothing completely. Those issues included blistering diaper rashes, lack of diaper cream or rash ointment use, skipped feedings, only offering one feeding over an 8-hour period, which happened numerous times to numerous children. It wasn't just me as a crazy mom. And I have in there Appendix A, some conversations from parents asking if their children were fed. I know it's tricky keeping track of stuff on the app, but if a parent's asking again and again and again, they've probably experienced where their child was not fed regularly. I know in my experience, I sent 3 bottles, 8 hours later, 2 bottles came home with me. Refrigerating previously warmed up milk. The side doors being unlocked all day. I was told they'd only be unlocked during pickup and drop-off hours. They're unlocked all day. Open food and drink containers accessible to the children, their staff members' drinks, sonic drinks, things like that. No identification checks. Teachers leaving children unattended a couple times. And then lack of communication to parents on the RSV and the COVID exposures that happened. Although these issues are dangerous, it's now come to my attention that children are being injured regularly while at the daycare. Over the last few months, I have several photos and even more stories from other parents about children getting bit to the point of blistering or drawing blood. Although this might be, biting is a behavioral issue, but it's easily to guide and redirect. It's not just because a kid's a bad kid. I think that's a training issue for staff members, but it's easy enough to teach them. And if it's not taken seriously, it can lead to a plethora of health issues with the bacteria that's in human saliva, as well as blood-transmitted diseases. Currently, there's no consistency in procedures being followed by staff or parents regarding the biting. Kids that bite are still there all day, they come back the next day. One parent was not informed that her child was injured and only found out about it when she brought her child home and stripped him down for bedtime. I have some pictures through Appendix C and D. Then 2 weeks ago, it came to my attention that 2 young children were found in the parking lot between the elementary school and the courthouse, unknowingly to the teacher. So they got out the door of the room and then out the door from the building. And the 2 children were found and brought back into the daycare. And from my sources, that parent was not told until the following day. I don't think I need to reiterate how dangerous it is for having 2-year-olds running around in a parking lot. I not only moved to Burlington for the school district, but for the community. I lived in Colorado Springs, COVID hit, I wanted a change of life and a sense of community, so I came here because I was told the school district was great. I eagerly enrolled my daughter into the Learning Center after hearing about their blended curriculum and it being a new building, with the hopes of finding a community to ensure my child's success as well as her safety. Due to these serious issues, I've chosen to pull my daughter out and attempted to find other daycare options. Countless parents are pulling their children out and attempting to find daycare options, and some are unable to pull out their children because there's so few options in town. This learning center is a necessity for our community, and it's critical that our children's safety is taken seriously. A teacher took the issues to the superintendent and was told children get hurt, it happens. She was terminated after that when she reached out to the state. A few teachers have quit after their current concerns were swept under the rug. A mother is afraid to make comments as she's afraid of retaliation from the school district. Another mother whose child was significantly bitten to the marks of leaving blood blisters and bite marks, took the matter to the superintendent and was told that he could not guarantee her child's safety. So my question to you guys is, if you can't guarantee my child's safety, what are you doing? And that's all I have. I just wanted it to be addressed and on record so that if something did happen, it was at least noted.
Thank you very much for coming in. Thank you for the information, and I'm going to move.
No problem. This is my sister-in-law in the back. She's currently watching my daughter, so thank you guys so much.
Okay, we'll move on to communications.
You have a number of communications that are in your packet. We also have one additional one that came in just today from Doug and Michelle Vanderlyn, as well as the ones that you have noted. A lot of people are very, very happy, again, with the option that we come up with for premium pay, and very thankful. Also for the staff appreciation gifts last week, or last month in November. So again, a lot of nice responses.
Move on to administrative reports, starting with elementary BES report. Questions or comments or anything from Darla?
The loo got fully installed this last week. They came down and trained us on how to get that thing going, and Kathy's been using it, and the kids are loving it. So we thank you for letting us get that piece of equipment. Next time you guys are out on a tour, we'll have to fire it up because it's pretty fun. So Courtney was there when we did the training, and you know, I could see a lot of different uses for that. So it'll be a very great addition to have that piece of equipment.
Is it pajama day today?
It was a good day.
Yes.
I love that you came here wearing pajamas.
I thought about changing, and I was hoping to do some math homework at my house, and I'm like, I don't have time to change now, so no.
I'm thrilled that you did.
Yes. There's no other questions or comments, move on to the middle school report. I guess Mr. Springs already.
They are the music
They're-
band vocal concert. Both him and Mr. Reed are there as well. If you have any questions, they may be here depending upon the length of the meeting.
All good information there. Anything we'd like to discuss? Move on to the high school
And again, if
December report.
you have any questions, Dave could maybe help answer. I will say that a quick comment, you talked about Darla and participation with the group, with the school. If you might have even seen, I think there might have been a Twitter message out. I think Matt Spring was the Grinch at the middle school earlier. That was cool. And Mr. Watkins, Mr. Reed both ended up with pies in the face due to a great generous donation for Block the Door that occurred for God's Storehouse. An incredible amount of canned goods and food.
I was just gonna add on that, on the food drive, one of the most significant ones we've had yet. We had over $1,200 in cash donations from our student body, faculty, plus over 1,000 items. So that will get delivered tomorrow to that storehouse, so.
I will say Matt did scare the heck out of my daughter. No, she just was walking down the hallway looking down, came around the corner, and she's, where was the Grinch?
And our paraprofessional, Jenny Anderson, we have two
Yeah.
Jenny Andersons, Jenny
Yeah,
was
they
Mrs.
both
Grinch.
looked great.
It was incredible, it was a lot of fun.
That's a great picture.
I did have one question on the trap club. Are there 2 participants, or how many people were signed up, like actively doing that now?
We had 14 sign up initially. I think the first practice there were 9,
Yeah,
and
it's kind of,
it's just kind of,
pulled out now.
And they kind of held off. They really talked like, we're gonna try to hit it hard in the spring, because that's when the actual state competition's on.
Okay.
So we're looking to come back. Ammunition has been a big issue
Yeah.
with everything, so.
Well, like Elliot did it, but the play
Right.
got,
It's busy.
so it was like he was trying to get both, and then there were there were so many things
And
going on.
high school's just incredibly busy.
Okay, we'll move on to special education report.
I'll just comment that staffing, although we've had a couple hires, still remains, I mean, I feel like that's what we talk about every month. Yeah, so we've got at least 2 that have, one started after the first of the year. But we're interviewing everybody that comes in and trying to stay on top of it, so.
Technology report.
And Doug is with Little Kids Wrestling. The rec tournament is happening tonight, so there's a lot happening at the high school with the band vocal, middle school, high school, and Little Kids Rec Wrestling. So he said, if you have anything, please let me know, and I'll be happy to share it with him, and we can respond back to you.
Anything to add, Courtney? Okay. Saw your name on there. Okay, we'll move on to superintendent's December report.
Okay, remember we do have a linkage meeting with our recent graduates. That's gonna be the Monday, January 3rd date instead of the regular January 10th board meeting. We'll do that about 5:45. We'll have dinner here and we'll start about 6 o'clock. And so just in case they end up leaving to go back to college, we'll get a chance to meet with them. And so that will be Monday, January 3rd. We recently have some really good news from the state. We received some awards from the Kansas Can recognition program, and again, we have a Bronze Star recognition for post-secondary success. Nice brand certificate here, a Copper Star for academically prepared for post-secondary, and then also a Bronze Star for high school graduation. And we received some of these in the past, and this is kind of taking the place of, if you remember, the standard of excellences that occurred in buildings in the past. Matter of fact, we even have the middle school gym still has some of those standards of excellences listed in there. We're going to work on, hopefully this summer, getting our middle school gym painted to take those off the walls, because it's an old program that the state no longer recognizes. So again, these awards are a reflection on the entire district and our staff, our students, and our families, just the wonderful community that we have here. So everybody should rejoice and be thankful and very, very proud of those awards. I want to review health and absence guidelines real quick. Very, very small, I guess, adjustment potentially that you guys could look at. We received information from Lindsay Payer and Dr. Sawyer that we can decrease a quarantine for a close contact to 7 days as long as they are asymptomatic, antigen testing and masking. So again, going from, instead of 10 days, it goes to 7 days. I think Christie's pulling that up real quick on the, hold on.
What was it?
Yeah. And so that's, yeah,
Here.
I don't know if you can enlarge that lower right-hand corner, maybe plus it just a touch, yeah, there you go. So, again, we'd be following KDHE and Coffee County Health Department guidelines if we go this direction. I don't know if you guys have any questions or comments.
A lot of places move in that direction right now, so.
And the numbers are there, 10 and 11 is what they say now. Okay. And I'm not even sure what our rate one is in general time.
Yeah.
I will just say, while we have plenty in the county, COVID in the county, we're still less than like some of the counties surrounding us, so we've actually decreased a little versus the counties around us have increased a little bit, so we're constantly watching that.
I will say this, there's some information from Lori Herman too. In October, we had 50 staff and students that were tested, 5 tested positive at school antigen testing, and 4 of those were in quarantine testing, again, due to home contacts. November, 90 staff and students antigen tested, 10 tested positive at school antigen testing, 5 of those were in quarantine testing due to home contacts. And then, well, actually, the December information just changed because I just got an update from her today. So before today, there were 14 staff or students who have tested as of 11th of December. At this point, no one had tested positive at school antigen testing, but today we did have an additional 14 students that tested this morning, so that brought a total of 28 for December, and we had 1 positive this morning. So the student was placed in quarantine due to being in classroom contact. So anyway, overall, I mean, our health numbers are tremendous. We were very, very fortunate. So I'm very appreciative of Lori Herman and all of our health staff all throughout the Coffee County Health Department, Dr. Sawyer and everybody at Coffee Health Systems that are helping us out, as well as the pharmacy, Auburn Pharmacy and other places. We're just very fortunate to have a lot of really good people helping us out. So I don't know if we want to take make a motion and vote on this adjusted health and absence guideline. We can, if we just want to continue it with this adjustment as our practice. I mean, it's up to you.
I don't think we haven't voted on it before on any of our adjustments.
Just the initial one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. And I kind of think that's what we've said, is that present it and talk about it and move forward. I don't think we need to vote.
Okay. And then the last item I have Sean Myers here. Mr. Sean Myers is from Meridian Roofing. They have worked on our high school roof project a summer ago, and then this summer and into the fall on our middle school roof project. We've been in touch with Sean throughout the project, as well as Clark Simpson, and I can call Clark tonight on the phone. He's available by phone if you have any questions for him. Basically, over this project, over the time frame of this project, I mean, we've dealt with material issues as far as getting materials here, material pricing. We've dealt with transportation and shipping and freight on materials and so on and so forth. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Sean. He has some information he'd like to share with you about the middle school project, and then just to discuss the potential of maybe working with our contingency amount that we have. But again, we did not use any contingency funds on this project at all, which was tremendous, and that was a $20,000 amount to maybe help out with the increased costs that we've had with this project. So Sean, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Thank you for letting me talk. This is kind of an unusual situation for me. I've never been in this situation to have to come back to a customer like this. But this year's presented some challenges, and when we did this project back in March, normally pricing doesn't fluctuate that much, but we've been getting hit almost every other week on some items, and then every month on some others. So whereas like with the high school roof, everything worked out fine, no problem. This one we're taking kind of a hit. And I just want to come and, for lack of a better term, beg. Just looking for some help maybe from the district to help offset some of its costs. There were some other things that went wrong with this one that we're going to address that also kind of compounded things for us with that swim blown through. And it was just kind of a bad deal. So
There was foam everywhere.
yeah,
Everywhere.
and there was foam and metal and all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
Is there any insurance? Do we have any
Yes.
insurance?
Yeah, it was not our insurance, it was actually
We
Meridian. and I want
elected to not go that route because our insurance was gonna go back on you guys. So we had Stovers come in and do the restoration. We paid them just this week. And then we just covered the costs of the damage that the ceiling tile, they picked up our panels and threw them all over the place. It damaged the roof that we put on. We had to tear that up. We'll take care of that with labor, just the way it is. But what I'm really looking for help on is just the materials that have just escalated out of control. Moving forward with districts, just so you guys know, a lot of bids that are coming out right now, they're having contractors submit an actual quote from our suppliers so that you can see, okay, it costs this much this time. Well, then next summer, it might be 40% more. So then you can submit a quote at that time to the school districts. And we're also putting in buffers now for wherever it could. I mean, I just did one that I just threw 30% on materials. It's an arbitrary number. I didn't know what else to do, but the project's not going to happen until summer of next year. So those are things that we're doing moving forward. Unfortunately, with this one bidding out earlier this year, we had no idea that this was going to happen. So I guess that's all. And if you have any questions for me.
So I appreciate you coming, so I have a couple questions for you. So
Yes, sir.
you bid this in March, is that right? So,
Yes, sir.
and then, so when you purchase your materials in March, or you waited until the project?
So the materials were purchased, and this goes to what Craig was talking about with, this year we're having a real problem getting materials.
Yep.
So even though we put in the order, what normally would have taken 4 weeks, or even 6, it took months for us to get it. Like, I didn't get the metal roofing material, and I ordered it after we submitted the submittals to Clark, and we put in the order. I didn't get it until the end of summer. It was, I think, September, around that time. Through that, they won't hold the pricing. So they're telling us that they're just gonna, whatever that time when we ship it, when it leaves the dock, that's gonna be the price.
I guess I kind of understand the price increase, I'm still, I'm struggling with the fact that you purchase the material.
Yeah.
And although the vendor could not get you the material, that they're not gonna hold their price and they're just gonna increase their price, they're gonna say because X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
I believe you, but how can I verify that you're not just gonna gouge us a little bit and say, hey,
Sure.
give me this extra for this? How do I know that all of that truly happened like that? I'm not saying.
No, I know. I can provide order sheets
Yeah.
from our suppliers that show the time that I ordered it, to maybe when we actually got it on site. I can provide whatever I can.
That is something that I would like to see, because I just went through this with another vendor on my personal side, and they said they ordered it, and they didn't order it for 5 months, and then all of a sudden the price went up. And I was like, oh, okay, so, and then we couldn't get it, so,
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, from our standpoint, we're putting in orders as quickly as we get them, even sometimes before we even get a contract right now, because of this problem. I mean, if you guys had your bid out right now and you said, hey, let's do the middle school roof, you're not getting it for a year, even if I put in the order right now.
And you're gonna pad yourself to cover that.
Right.
Right. It's gonna increase my cost.
And I did share some information with you in the document that Sean shared with me, some information regarding purchasing and price increases. And according to Clark Simpson, also our architect with Gibson, Mancini, Carmichael, Nelson, Clark and Sean are both reiterating that roofing costs, for example, getting this done this year was a huge benefit to the district, because it could be anywhere from a 15 to a 40% increase. So take $755,000 project and add 50 roofs again. So that's good news for us.
And we did get help from we had to change some of the scope of work that Clark had put out to different materials so that we could even get it. Yeah, so they were great with working on that. And again, I've never been in this situation. I don't know what to provide you. If you ask me for it, I'm gonna get you it. Whatever I need to do, I guess.
I don't
Yeah,
know how
that would be
everybody else
good. I mean,
feels, but
yeah.
if you could do just a little bit what we talked about, says,
Yes, sir.
okay, you did this in March, show me that you ordered this in
Okay.
March or April or whatever, and provide those to Craig. And that, you didn't order this in September when you get ready to do the roof.
Right.
And then, so, I don't know. Yeah. And then, if you can provide that to Craig, I guess I'm okay with providing these contingency allowance, so.
Yeah, I would feel that same way, and when you're talking 15 to 40% increase, this SEC money is like 1.8%, so it's not a,
This is
Even
nothing
then we're-
this far, yeah.
but yeah, I would feel
This
the
is
same way.
nothing in our, but for yours.
I understand.
Has a question like this, or has this ever happened with our board before? If it was, I would like to know what the board's recommendation was at that time, if it had. But you guys
I've
are
never heard
recollect
of that before.
Lost 8 years.
We've never had a pandemic, so this is never.
Well,
You just do
but we've had things happen,
Yeah.
tornadoes and.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
things
yeah.
happen.
It's
So,
normally not, worldwide.
I think COVID overall has just caused it to be crazy everywhere. So we experience that at the hospital and lots of places where prices are fluctuating daily, so.
Well, like I said in the letter, I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and I've never experienced anything like this. Never.
So what's the dollar figure of help you're asking for?
Well, I'm really asking for anything. The spreadsheet, as you can see, it's $49,000 difference that I'm eating right now. There was a $20,000 allowance in the contract for contingency that luckily we didn't have to use, nothing big came up, other than that stupid storm, but.
Yes, yes.
So I'm really asking for anything, that's all I'm asking.
And I will say this, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I said we have the contingency, if, you know, we can get those documents like James asked.
Okay. I will say Meridian has been terrific to work with on both projects, as well as taking care of the storm damage in a very, very timely manner. Again, their people have been really good, like I say, been good to work with, and I think we're pleased. We're pleased with them. And they were originally, with the original bidding process that we did back in March, they were $80,000 low on the project to start with. So, having said that, it sounds like from what your direction you're giving me is to maybe get those submittals and to show that they did put in those orders in that timely manner, March, April. And if that happens, then we will go ahead and do the contingency, $20,000 to them for this.
Can we see the documents before you write the check?
Sure.
Okay.
Sean, if you can get those to me?
Yeah.
Sooner, the better.
Yes.
So what you're proposing, so I'm proposing
Sure.
20,000, but we're going to get the documents and then
First.
we're all gonna look at them separately as you send them out to us and say yay, nay, and then you write them a check or.
That will be fine. Whatever
I'm just asking.
whatever the board's wishes are.
Yeah, I'm on board with
I'm on
seeing
board
the
with
documents and understanding that this timeframe is how it worked out, and
Right.
Okay, I'll send them to you Friday, on a Friday note, scenario. And then I will get, I'll talk with you as needed, and we'll work on getting that taken care of, so.
Every time we step out and do something new, we're setting precedents. So remember that when you look at stuff. Okay.
How in dire straits are we on this roofing job? I mean, is the roof falling apart? Do we have time? Just thinking ahead, if we decided not to do it, have it rebid.
This
We
is
would
done.
do it.
This is
Oh, it's done.
done.
The middle, it's done.
Oh, it's done.
This is the
done.
one that was done
It
over the
blew off.
summer and the fall. Yeah.
It started,
When the COVID
National-
tent
yeah.
got all mangled, the
Late.
full roof.
the project actually started late May, early June, somewhere in that neighborhood, if I remember correct, Sean.
Sometime.
Yeah, I think it was June.
Yeah, because it was a late start and then, yeah.
We felt like moving forward with the roof, even though it was gonna, I talked to a number of construction people and contractors said, you're not gonna get this price again on this roof. You need to take it while you can. You may be inconvenienced a little bit, but again, 15 to 40% on $755,000 roof, that takes you into the millions. You know, or takes you into the $1 million range possibly, so we felt like we needed to do that financially speaking, so we use our money for other things, so.
And are the ruts fixed in the back of the?
I don't think they are yet.
Not yet.
We hired, okay. we
Okay,
hired-
him to do it.
That's wrong with it.
Okay, perfect.
On the list.
I just remember after that storm and then that lift went in, there was like
Yeah.
that bigger ruts.
At the
in
middle
back.
school, a couple
Yeah.
pieces or something.
Yeah, some
concrete.
Yeah, they're gonna replace some concrete, right there by the ruts, and then we're gonna give the district a credit for the other
Okay.
damaged concrete.
I think, again, they've worked together on that, and if you'll notice, there's just one set of ruts. They did not go and tear up that,
Yeah,
it's
no, they
very
were split
fortunate.
straight in and straight back, but they were like,
I told them, you already made the ruts, just stay there.
Yes, yes,
So we moving around.
John Boo.
yes.
Well, thank you for coming. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you
sure.
again.
Yeah, thanks for this, extreme circumstances. Thank you for coming out.
I'll get information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and that's all I have.
Move on to board member items, any board reports, any information you'd like to share?
Well, I'd like to bring up, I didn't add it to the agenda, but I would like to talk about, once again, about the video taping, or I don't know, I want to say live streaming of ball games. So I've had a lot of community requests about, you know, is, how come you guys can't live stream? And I said, well, we talked about that once, but we decided not to, but it seems like it's increasing at least weekly, that I'm getting people ask, and then, you know, I've given some reasons why, maybe not, but, I think we need to revisit that, and,
I had someone ask as well.
Isn't there a way we can like have people pay?
Yes.
I mean, can't we have them pay to view it?
that's what
or-
I'm
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask Dave to join in on the topic. So again, if you remember, I think I shared with you in maybe October, one of the Friday notes in October about, we as administrators and directors got together and talked about this, and we talked about the pros and the cons. So if you're live streaming, again, people at home can stay at home and watch, and then of course they're not paying a fee to come in, you know, an admission fee. And it does hurt, you know, gate for high school, especially high school activities. You do run into scenarios too of, okay, if you go to a pay-per-view piece, which you can do a pay-per-view, and I'll let Dave talk a little bit more about that. But it does become a challenge when you're asking people to pay for something, and let's say they have, you know, this is an extreme, let's say they have a dial-up modem for internet connectivity, and they don't get a connection there. So then all of a sudden, grandma in Florida has got her dial-up internet connection, and she's not seeing what she's paid for, and she's gonna want to be refunded her, you know, she wants her money
Disclaimer.
refunded.
Disclaimer.
So therein lies those issues that we deal with. We all of a sudden, like I say, we're like ESPN now, and we're trying to provide video services. Dave, I'm gonna turn it over to you for some other things.
So I'd just like to expand on that a little bit, so, and I really didn't think anything about this so much, and then we talked about now, you know, it's okay. But I literally had 3 people in a row, 3 people not related whatsoever, and says, I need this so the grandparents can watch. And they live 3 states away, and I was like, oh. I never thought about that. All I thought about, oh, they're not gonna get this gate, you know, we're not gonna make any money, but these people want to see, and then they're saying, we're going to other schools, and those people are live streaming, and the grandparents are calling into those, and that's the only time they get to watch their grand. I said, ooh, that hurts, so.
I had a grandparent ask me too, last Friday.
And I completely understand. I guess one of the things that we also talked about is, especially for grandparents or family members, and I'm gonna address basketball, football, volleyball uses it, we use Huddle as our video platform. Our coaches allow our kids access to once the game's loaded into the Huddle system, it's in the library. They give kids that access. Once those kids have access to that game, then they can share. So they can share that game or share that link to grandma and grandpa in California. It's not live. It's still the game that's on tape delay. So we actually have that capability right now.
So what's the reason we stopped? Just because, okay, now the school's open and nobody has to wear a mask or what?
That's one of the reasons. Another reason is what Craig, we can have, and it happened last year during the COVID epidemic, I got a call, said, I can't see it, it's not streaming. Well, actually, it was a parent, said, my parents can't see it, they can't see it. And I said, I pulled it up on my phone, it was streaming live. So it's an issue on their connection side. So it could be their internet provider, could just be something within their computer, whatever. So you have those technical issues that we can't address because they're not even on our side. The other issue that comes, I guess, is staffing. And I'm gonna call it Title IX, I don't know that it would be Title IX, but once you start, you really need, I guess we've gotta do it all. We don't only have to do basketball, we've gotta do 7 mats of wrestling. How are we doing baseball? How are we doing softball? How are we doing track? How are we doing football? How are we doing cross country? It opens that huge Pandora's box that we've gotta figure out a way to stream all this and staff it to be able to stream.
So what are other schools
Are
doing?
we a district that can't figure that out?
We can,
We can
work to figure it out. The issue is, I struggle to find people to work.
Don't we have kids in media tech?
That's what I was.
I mean, have a
I mean, that-
student that they're, you
Michael
know.
Vanderlunden's class, they're doing TikTok videos all the time, they might as well start doing.
But part of that too, and
I mean,
understand what you're saying, but part of that too, again, you have to remember that we have a lot of kids involved in a lot of different activities.
Right.
So they may be wrestling or, cross
They're all
country,
involved in this
or, yeah, you get the idea,
or
or
activity.
basketball. So and back to James's question, yeah, can we do it? We can do it, we've done it before, but part of that problem is now, okay, we've done it once, so now people expect it. And
So
so,
what are other schools doing? Those schools that are doing it, are they, what size
I
are those
can't tell you that they're
schools?
doing wrestling and all that other stuff.
Can
I
you
just
send
know.
out a,
But
I saw Baldwin last week from the bleachers
I
up
can
behind
tell,
the
I can
school.
tell you most people in our area are either using Huddle, stream to YouTube, or they're using NFHS, which is the Pixel app. Last year, NFHS oversold. They had more video cameras, and that's nationwide, because it's the National High School Federation. There were people paying $70 for their membership and never getting a game because their server was overloaded, they had too much coming in. So they deal with it exactly.
Well,
So-
I agree a little bit with what Selena said, you put a disclaimer out there for that, that says you may or
May
may
or may
not
not
be able to
get
get
it.
on here, but, I just say that I think that the administrators put their heads together and figure out if it's basketball, somebody from basketball needs to be able to do that. But you say you're already doing Huddle, so you're already doing the game.
For basketball, football, yes, well, our football camera's not up, but it will be. For those things, yes.
But, so I'm just saying, somebody's already doing that.
It's within the system, because the camera's mounted there on the wall. Yeah, basketball is the least word. Wrestling, if you do it, so you could have a Huddle camera feeding wrestling, but now you've got 4 mats and you've got little stick people, what they're gonna look like on that video.
well, we had 9 the other
Right.
night, we had 9 mats in 2 different
And so in the gym,
gyms.
you can cover all the mats in the gym, but now you're also gonna have iPads along every other mat in the wrestling room, because we don't have a Huddle camera there to cover those mats, and that extra is it doable? Yes. My issue is, the parents, grandparents that are coming now, how do we also figure out those parents, grandparents, whatever, that wanna see baseball, they wanna see softball, they wanna see someone throw the javelin? And how do we get coverage with wireless connection out in the middle of our practice field? That's gonna be doable, yes, it's
So those Huddle videos, you said that students can share them.
correct.
So why, and we all know how well high school students share things, so why don't we just put that on our,
Must happen
on
that at
our
your house.
website? Yeah,
Because then you have to have access, it's a protected system. So if you're Justin Logan's basketball player, he gives you access to that library. Now, you can't actually share that
you
out
can't
with
have a
someone else.
common, can we just have a common one where it's like, hey, here's last night's basketball game,
That would
check
be-
it out, and then
I'd
the
have to
link
check with how.
to just a generic login for,
So what's our expense, the cost to pay people to do it?
to find
What-
people.
Like you're wanting people, we talked about having people pay to see it.
Right,
What is the real expense? The cost of labor,
the cost of labor and finding those workers to do it.
right, but not not live stream does not cost us, like we already pay for internet and all that, so there's no fee other than that. Like if I'm paying to watch the game, I'm asking you,
There's a,
Why-
yeah,
what am I
there's gotta
paying
be a
for?
software, there has to be a software that
you think?
Well, and I wish.
And what we do,
I wish that.
He's not here.
what we do last year during the
Last year,
pandemic,
we streamed it to YouTube Live.
who did?
We just tied Huddle to YouTube Live, and I don't know whether we have to license, and I don't know if Courtney can answer that, probably. I don't know that we have to license for YouTube to have that feed, but that,
was also on the indoor sports, correct?
correct.
Yeah,
So
it
for
wasn't
indoor
for
sports,
track.
we live streamed it to YouTube for no cost, except for we paid someone to do it.
Well, and we have to pay for a Huddle subscription.
Right, but you're doing that already.
Correct.
the cost,
Maybe I'm being too simple,
Yeah.
but, so if you were to say wrestling, if you put a camera in the corner of the gym and looked over all the wrestling mats, and you hook that camera to YouTube, they're watching the thing live, and they may not zero in on their grandson, but they're gonna pick them out of the crowd over there and say, hey, that's my grandson. I don't know, if that, you don't think you
I'm
do?
just gonna tell you
Yeah.
no, because last year I tried to watch when we had a Burlington duel here, our former neighbor kid was wrestling for Silver Lake, and I had the thing up on the deal, and it was just like, I was like trying to guess which match he was.
No.
I couldn't tell who any of them were Carter. I mean, you know, like, so I feel like definitely if you have a one camera thing, no way, because like that thing, you could, like, they all look the same in those suits to me. You know, they have those things on their heads.
And the state tournament,
wrestling,
they do
but-
it every table.
Yeah,
You know,
in our tournament, we did the same.
Yeah. it
There was one at every table.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
is,
so you were only
seating
seeing
right
one
there.
match last year on the thing, it was just one match, but I couldn't tell.
But yeah, then every disc throw, every jumper, every, yeah.
And that's my fear is, you open it, you should, I mean, I feel like you should cover it all. And that's where it gets real dicey.
Sounds like a
Hey,
full-time
Ron, you had
position
something
to
else
me.
you were gonna say maybe?
Well, I was gonna finish what I was saying. Every year at state tournament, you can go into the software, the website, and it's developed where you find your kid, what bracket he's in, what mat he's gonna be on. You click on that mat, and there's an iPad on that table. I mean, it wouldn't be hard. We've already got laptops at each table. We've got Wi-Fi in the buildings. Why could we just set a system up like that? And that's pretty much the same with all the indoor sports. The outdoor sports is where you're gonna get complicated. But I think that's the way to do it for wrestling and basketball is just, you know, set up something with a wide angle.
Yeah.
To where you're gonna see it.
So you had an iPad next to the computer at state. and-
Yeah, it just sits on the score,
No.
it sits on the score table.
I thought we did that for our independent tournament, we had 7 iPads.
We did.
So you already fixed?
Yeah, like I said, wrestling, basketball, football, when we have the camera mounted, that will be taken care of. Volleyball creates an issue because depending on which court, varsity, junior varsity, you're gonna be filming both courts, and you're not gonna have a good view of either one. So that creates an issue with volleyball, cross country.
So I brought this up, not to make it complicated, but, maybe it is complicated, but, I think there's plenty of administrators here got enough smarts to try to figure out something, if you can't, then bring it back and say, there ain't no way we can do it, so.
One thing we talked about, and I shared with you, I think back in October, when we were discussing this, and whether we, to live stream or not live stream, and as you can tell, there's a lot more than just, hey, there's a camera, watch. And when you throw in pay-per-view, people are expecting a return for their investment, and they want to see the game if you're charging them $20 a game, you know, to watch. But also too, we talked about if we are limiting attendance at an event, we will live stream. So for example, the Veterans Day program, we did a live stream for Veterans Day program because we limited attendance to not everybody could come in. We just felt like that was happening during the school day. With that happening during the school day, we wanted to take health safety precautions in consideration for all of our students and our staff. So that was the reason that we live streamed certain events when you limit attendance. And then we said, because we're not limiting attendance right now for basketball, wrestling, volleyball, football, that type of thing, and that's your choice to attend, then again, we decided not to live stream those events. It sounds, am I catching from you guys would like to have us dive in more so into this and see if there's a way we can provide this?
Yes.
I'm only one, that's what
I agree.
Oh,
I think it should be live streamed, and I also think that we should not charge people because that is our out. If it messes up and doesn't work, oh well. I mean, you know, it did, it's happened, right?
Yeah.
Darla had something messed up.
Halloween parade.
Yeah, the Halloween parade.
It happens.
Well, we're sorry and move
We
on.
tried.
I mean, we tried, right? But if you have people pay, then otherwise you're not backed into a corner, like we tried, get messed up, battery died, whatever. I don't know. Then we're not out of anything, you know.
Well, and I would
that's-
put that in your listserv question that you send out, you know, since you've been live streaming, have you seen a drop in, how much has it affected your ticket sales? You know, whatever, I mean, have that as part of your
We
question.
don't have to worry about it. I don't think Burlington has to worry about tickets.
I don't think I think it'll be your people who are far away.
Mr. Watkins might feel a little differently because that helps, that has,
I'll differ on that opinion.
because again, funding, we try not to use, we try to use as little as possible from our general fund to
Right.
fund certain things, like for example, he ends up paying for gate receipts, official costs,
Officials,
what else?
entry fees.
Workers.
All basic event issues, incrementals. I try to be subsidized. You host a lot, that helps, so.
What might help you is if you don't charge by pull, but you give them the option to donate.
Or maybe we charge more to get in, or come ask us for money. I mean, we're really open up. I mean, I don't know if we've ever said no.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing with gate is we're dictated by the league. I'm in a hand league
That's
there,
true.
but outside the league, then we can charge based on what we want.
I just say explore it and see.
Okay. We will look into this more thoroughly, and we will get back to you. If that sounds like that's your wishes. Okay.
The only thing I had was great job on recognition for that flag,
Yeah.
and I'll get a picture so I can send it to the one person, but yeah, great job on that, and the flag work.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah, no, great job. And it's pretty quiet, because I was under it, and you can't even hear it come down, I was like, oh.
Same.
Game, the first, the Friday night.
I did have one of the officials say it's bigger than Anderson County, so I'm gonna go with
It's kind of big, maybe.
that. I think he's from Anderson.
That's fun. No, it was nice.
Okay, any other member items? If not, we'll move on to contracts, approvals, and appointments for drivers' educational fees.
Correct, and here's some information that I'm sharing with you in preparation for next year's driver's education program. I'll tell you, there are a number of districts that do not offer driver's education programs, so we're very fortunate to have that be the case here. I shared with you some information, again, in that public content. One thing, and this will not be voted on, this will be something we have to go through negotiations. We're probably gonna have to look at improving our driver education hourly pay for our instructors. Christy and I did some research into not only league schools, but also throughout the state, what people are paying driver's ed teachers. And we're so far behind, guys. $22.50 is currently the amount, it's same pay as summer school, that we pay summer school instructors. We are so far behind, guys, it's not even funny. League schools are paying $25 an hour or more. And if you look at the KSBE site, when we looked at that information, we saw anywhere, I'm gonna say from $25 to $50 an hour. It depends on
It's a
what you-
negotiation, it is on negotiation.
It's part of the negotiated agreement, but for what we're doing tonight, we're approving the fee structure. And I'm fearful in talking with Mr. Reed, Mr. Watkins both, we will only right now have one driver's ed teacher for next year, because two people most likely will not. One person's gonna teach elsewhere for $35 an hour in another district. And this is, it's not.
What's the supplemental committee?
No,
For
no, it's
negotiations?
negotiations. It's under
They need to talk to their
negotiations.
team members.
Right. So having said that, we're probably gonna have to look to increase that amount. But again, we're not voting on that tonight, just wanna make sure you understand that what we're looking at doing is setting our fee rates for resident students as well as non-resident students. And, but I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. I know for me personally in McPherson, my son and my daughter had to go to Salina to do driver's education because McPherson School District got rid of their driver's ed program. So we had to make a 30-minute plus trip throughout, the times that they needed to be able to drive. If we don't keep our driver's ed program going here, we could end up having parents that have to go to Ottawa, Topeka, Emporia, Kansas City for driver's education. So we probably want to try to do that to me as much as possible and as much as we can to make that happen for local driver's education. If we improve our fee structure, our salary structure for driver's ed teachers, we may be able to keep that going.
Do we get a lot of non-resident students?
Last year, I don't think we had a single one. We did not have a single one.
I think we've had a few in the past
So again, the fee structure setup is what we're looking at tonight. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Lucas.
the 300, I think, for non-resident is still a bargain.
Yeah. I was just, I was just like, that you can make up the difference.
I don't think, through negotiations, I don't think that, well, again, it'll be something we'll bring up at negotiations. I would hope that they would be happy that we're looking to pay our staff more, that are interested in doing this. So, other questions or comments about this information regarding driver's education?
You get reimbursed
We
from the
do,
state.
yes, and that is, was it $122? $122, state revenue per student. Yes. Good question. Anything else?
I'll move to approve the driver education fees for the summer of 2022 at $100 per resident student and $300 for non-resident student admitted to the program.
Second.
And everyone can vote on our computers. Motion passes 6-0. Next item is the concrete bid.
If you would, could you pull up the bid summary, or can you do that? Okay, we did have 2 vendors bid for concrete projects within the district. Again, with that, you'll see a document coming up on there. We will, again, I mean, as you can see, the bids are very, very close in relationship to, you know, the projects and what was done, what we asked to have them bid to be done. We did have a pre-bid meeting with both companies, met with Brad Griffin and reviewed and looked over all pieces of information. There's also 2 other things that we requested in the bid process to include, and we asked them to include a copy of bid bond, if over $100,000, as well as a copy of certificate of insurance. Burlington Construction provided both those items, Precision did not. With that, and Precision's out of Lee Summit, Missouri. Thank you, I'm sorry, a company, and they, like I said, they presented themselves well, you know, in the time they met with Brad. So, again, 2 very reputable companies, but one filled both, you know, items that we asked to include, and the other one did not.
So I'm, you know, all about selecting local vendors as much as we can. And the county does a thing where that's percentage more. So what kind of policy?
Okay, good question. Christy and I spent a lot of time on this. So there's a 1% rule in the state of Kansas. If you have these, let's say for example, they both provided both documents, you would have a 1% rule that you could go back to the local vendor and ask them if they would meet that price of an out-of-town vendor. And if they will, if both bids are within 1%, then you can do that.
But that's the state.
That's the state,
So like
yeah.
the county has their own policy.
City and county are different, some can go 5%, some can go 10%, it just depends, you're right. Good question.
We wouldn't per se have anything established, is that right?
I'm sorry, say that again.
So the school doesn't necessarily have anything established, is that right?
No, we have to follow state guidelines,
Oh, okay.
yes. Other questions that you have?
No, I just wondered about the alternate, or I missed the 1 through 7 is one that.
Right. In talking with Brad Griffin, we're gonna go ahead and go with, our recommendation would be to go with items, projects 1 through 7. This is a little more than we did last year, but we were gonna do a little less last year, if you remember, in concrete. But it's actually a little bit less than what we've done in years past. We've done upwards of $170,000, $180,000, $190,000 in concrete. It just depends on the year, depends on if you've got, you know, a harsh winter and the concrete's, you know, getting hammered, and salt can obviously deteriorate concrete, and there are other factors as well, but.
So this baseball dugout, not the softball, this is the baseball?
There's an area around, real close to the baseball area that it's a mowing issue for our crew that mows. It's like kind of like a zigzag, it's hard to get in the outside, so we're gonna get rid of that, and also it's a place where mud collects. So it's a small, it's not a huge area, but it's gonna help our staff, our ground staff to go in and be able to, they won't have to go in and mow around there. They won't have to deal with, again, the coaches and the players won't have to deal with mud that just piles up and collects in this area when we get rain, so.
Well, what's the elementary school front entrance? What's that?
The elementary school front entrance is, remember when we talked about the board retreat, we talked about maybe getting rid of that area in there where it's like
We're not gonna
it's
do
a
that?
garden. Right now, we're not, based on just some information and some thoughts, we just don't know maybe, what the future might hold with that area. And, so having said that, we're gonna hold off on that. We may end up doing something with that, we can come back later later in the summer if we decide. But for right now, we just aren't sure about a couple of things.
You said no.
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 Summed it up nicely.
Yeah.
Oh.
Got some other ideas.
Yes.
So what do we have budgeted for this year, and so?
I roughly 150,000. So it's a little bit over budget, but those items 1 through 7, again, like I say, just a little bit more than what I was hoping to do. But Jeremy can maybe even speak to the price of concrete, because if I remember right, it's going up $10 a cubic yard
Yeah,
from
right.
January 1.
We're projecting the cement and concrete is projected to go up at least $10 a yard there. I know my rebar pricing last year, if you break that down into unit square foot price, it is considerably more than last year. Rebar last year, I believe, was $5.25, $5.50-ish when I buy it by the semi-load. This year it was $9.25. And they told me my price was only good for 1 day. And that was 2 weeks ago when we did this. So it's the same, it's the exact same situation.
I believe it.
It's anything that is metal or fuel driven, skyrocketed, yes. And our vendors are not, they're not holding anything. So, I mean, say you was to award it to us, I would like to order my rebar tomorrow, because I don't know what it's gonna be come May.
Good, because I was just gonna ask you that, because like Ronnie just brought up, so if we were to award you the bid, I mean,
If you was to
I don't
award
want you to come back and say, hey, I need your help.
If you was to award me the bid, I would probably ask for some money next week so I can get the rebar down and store it at the bus barn.
I got you.
We did that last year too, I believe. Just to lock in the prices as close as we can.
The high school parking lot, this is where the current is, right? We're not
Yeah, we are continuing.
adding.
Yeah, we are improving, there's areas that we're continuing, as you can see in the high school parking lot area, there are just new areas that we are adding, or
Yeah.
it's not adding on, it's taking the old and replacing
Yeah,
with
yeah,
new.
okay, that's why I just wanted to make,
No, it's not new, it's not
Not-
additional, it's
okay.
removal of old bad concrete.
Yeah.
yeah, there's
We
some spots
talked
there.
about, there is some other random spots that really need some attention, but it's like, we've been going every year consecutive, doing in front of the stadium, keep going. It's like, do you skip this piece and go ahead and do this one? And then come back to this one in a few years, or do you just keep,
Yeah, it's going down.
but it's one of them things, if you don't just keep doing it every year, you'll never be able to afford to do it all at once.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
What are you looking at doing in front of the Burlington Middle School? That's one of
Middle
the.
school,
is
so
main entrance and sidewalk?
Yeah, there's
from
just,
his ruts.
that's the back.
That's the back of the school.
Well, there was a broken piece out front.
Yeah.
Yeah, from his broken piece out front to the east.
Yeah.
You're good.
It's a good thing we can laugh about this, it's,
Well, there was some ruts out there too, but, yeah. And I think everything else around there has already been replaced in previous years. This is the last of the improvements there, so.
So why is the parking lot $10,000 higher on your bid versus their bid? Are they lowballing us there, or what's the difference?
BHS parking lot.
The BHS parking lot,
Number 7, project 7. It's a little over 10,000 higher on your bid.
My vendor that I'm using for the concrete was $128 a yard. I do have another price from a different vendor that I would rather not use because they use fly ash, coal slag, and other stuff as fillers, and it's $95 a yard. I am using the higher price vendor that runs straight cement only. And I do have them documents if you'd like to see them.
So a tougher product for that.
110%. I would not use anything with fillers. It really is, it's just fillers. To eat up some weight in the concrete. I mean, the coal slag, fly ash, all sorts of stuff in there. We use straight cement only.
And I don't know if that's the case with the other vendor with Precision, if they're using a different product, I don't know for sure.
That price difference is significant.
When you look at the again, in terms of, okay, you have one project that's a different price, but then you see maybe 3 others that are less from, like from Burlington Construction.
Yeah, they're like 7,000 under.
Yeah,
the stadium.
it varies, but yeah. Other questions or comments that you have?
Make a motion to approve the concrete bid amount of $159,372 from Burn Construction, Inc. for projects 1 through 7.
Second.
So, motion and second for approval of concrete bid, we can vote on our computers. Motion passes 5-0. Well, I guess not because the vote's still no, so 5-1. Is that correct? Okay.
And I'll say, if Jeremy and Sean, you guys want to stay, you're more
Yeah.
than welcome to stay, but if you need to get going, we totally understand.
I'll be cool.
Thank you.
Okay, driving on.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
coming in.
Next item for contract approval is a pole laying system bid. Order your rebar.
Jeremy. Get your rebar.
Order your rebar.
Get your rebar ordered.
Yes, I will. I'll text my rep now and tell him I want it. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
There are some information on the bid recommendation and some summary of the pole laying system picked.
Okay, Mr. Watkins took the lead on this because 8 different vendors, I turned it over to him to ask for not only coaches, but some more, what else? You tell me who all you got involved, Mr. Watkins.
Well, I talked with the 2 vendors I thought had the most reputable. Talked to several different schools, each had one with one landing system, one with they're both very good landing systems. They both met all the bid specs. Talked with a couple of pole vault coaches that have had kids that are, state level, 14, 15-foot pole vaulters. Their recommendation was always that you want to go as deep as you can. In other words, from the vault box back as deep as you possibly can. It's just safer. So the one mat has a little bit, it's about 8 inches further, or longer, I guess you would call it, from the vault box back to the end of the mat. A couple of the coaches are sold, it's what they have on the UCS mat. I talked to another school, AD at another school who they just bought a Ritchie, and they were very happy with it. They both meet all the standards as far as Federation and Acacia standards. The one thing that some of the coaches talk about in the UCS mat as opposed to the Ritchie is, I guess you would call it a more gradual taper around the vault box area. And they believe there's less rebound effect. When the steeper it is, and a lot of ramps are square, kids will hit on that edge and it actually bounces them a little bit. This has a gentle taper, so if they do hit, it's more of a slide. So they think it's safer. I don't know what are the questions, that's the information I gained. Both companies said they could deliver, the one has a longer warranty than the other.
So you're saying one says 8 inches deeper?
It's 8 inches deeper, yeah. They're like, yeah. But if you're up 15 feet, well, that 8 inches,
It may look like 3 foot. I think about 8 inches off the bat, that's better.
but those are two of the deepest mats you can.
So what do we currently have?
We currently have one that meets, it's not, I haven't ever measured. It's not as, I know it's not as long because we do have the one Vulture who sometimes gets close to getting off the back just because of the height that he's vaulting now.
Is that the reason we're replacing it, or?
It needs, that mat's shot.
It was in capital outlay for either this year or
Okay,
next
I was
year.
just curious.
Good question, good question.
But it is, the weather cover, we duct tape and baling wire, we've been keeping that thing together. And unfortunately, we figured out a new system to strap them down, but you guys know Kansas winds 70,
Yeah,
80
my
now.
crew cover's gone.
Even as tight as you bolt them down, sometimes they get free, so. And over time, they do sit out, the material underneath, which is a vinyl, it'll get holes and everything, so that foam begins to take up water and they deteriorate, so.
You are more of an expert on pole vaults than when you entered the room. Pole vault landing systems, yes.
So which one, at the end of the day, which one do you use?
We did the recommendation for the United Canvas and Sling Company,
Which is UCS.
UCS.
Do they stay out year round?
No, once season's over, they go back up and they're suspended. I don't know what you call those things, those platforms underneath the stadium, so they're off the ground. Yeah. So they have a chance, if there is any water, they have a chance to drain out.
Okay.
Yeah, so they go out about the second week of the season, and then as soon as we're done, and typically way earlier, someone hosts a regional track meet here. So as soon as they're done, they help us put them back.
Yeah.
There's some very large, like scaffolding shelving underneath the football stadium that helps protect our mats for longevity.
And that scaffolding will fit that?
Yes.
Okay.
We may have to put a little extra, but we can, we've got some room now.
Yes.
That place cleaned up.
8 inches extra is gonna be.
Any other questions about pole vault pit? Any questions? I'll move to approve the pole vault landing system in the amount of $22,490 from United Canvas and Sling. Second. And we can move it on our computers. That's not. Oh,
There it goes, there it goes. It just,
got it.
Okay.
Motion passes 5-0. Moves on to the personnel section of the agenda. There's an item there for an executive session for some time, if everyone wants to go back and talk. Okay, looks like a motion for an executive session, we'll move on to the superintendent contract.
contract with Craig Marshall, superintendent for the 2022-23 and 2023-24 school years.
Motion and a second for superintendent contract, and we'll vote on our computers. Motion passes 4-1. Move on to item C for principal contracts. Move to approve a contract with Stacy Reed, high school principal, Dave Watkins, high school assistant principal / athletic director, Matthew Spring, middle school principal, and Darla Long, elementary school principal for the 2022-23 and 2023-24 school years.
Second.
Motion and second for all the principal contracts. We vote on our computers again. Motion passes 4-1. Move on to certified director contracts.
Make a motion to approve a contract with Lindsay Graff, special education director, Doug Vanderlinden, technology director, and Craig Coleman, assistant technology director for the 2022-23 and 2023-24 school years.
Second.
Motion and second for certified director contracts. Vote on our computer when it comes up. Motion passes 4-1. Move on to the retirement for personnel.
I'll make a motion to accept the retirement request of Susan Parks with regret as guidance office secretary effective January 1, 2022.
Second. Motion and a second for retirement, and we can vote on computers.
How many years did that go? 40 years?
41.
41, yeah, I was about ready to mention that.
We lost.
Motion passes 5-0.
She has been a tremendous asset to the high school and the district, and 41 years, we wish her all the best. We just, we're so thankful that she's been a part of us.
Move on to closing items. Debriefing, portions of meetings, like to talk about, I can see all the thank you notes there, it's kind of like.
Yeah,
Those are good. I appreciate patrons coming to talk and contractors coming to talk, so it's nice to have.
Yeah, we got a lot of information to go over from
Yeah.
Roger, so we can go over that. Any other questions, comments this evening?
I'd just say you might let her know that we're gonna discuss all this, you know, so we'll be back to her tomorrow.
So, yeah, if you would like me, I can reach out again.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll adjourn the meeting.